So, by way of introduction, who am I? My name is Dr. Damien Hatton, and I am the Managing Director at InFocus Consulting Limited. So, InFocus is a social impact consultancy firm that's been commissioned by the Mayor's Office to support the evaluation of the Sport Unites programme. We've also been, as a part of that evaluation, been asked to provide support to all the various grantees, all the various organisations who are funded through Sport Unites, to help them with their challenges and efforts to collect information about what they're doing and what they're trying to achieve through their programmes. So that's where you guys who are all on today's call come into play. Today's call is really about introducing the range of support that we hope to be able to offer to some, if not all of you, over the course of the next 12 to 14 month period. So as the doctor part of my name suggests, I'm actually a medical doctor. My background's originally as a tropical diseases doctor in the NHS. And then about 19 years ago now, I set up a charity called Street League, which is indeed a sport for development charity that's based in London, but actually over that period has grown into a national programme that is operating in all parts of the UK. And so this was represent my mark and transition from the medical world into more of the NGO and INGO sector. About 10 years ago, I set up and co-founded InFocus to really share some of the lessons I'd learned around monitoring and evaluation and how to drive the performance of non-profits within this space and help them grow. And my chosen sport of choice is indeed tennis. So that's just a little bit about me. But really today is all about the evaluation and the support that we're going to be provided. So I thought, first of all, just to give you a little bit of context in terms of what is the Sport Unites evaluation. Well, over the next 12-month period, and this is the first year of really a 3-year time span of evaluation, InFocus will lead the evaluation efforts for Sport Unites, and will be combining data that we collect directly from our own team, going out and maybe visiting various different projects and partners who are involved in Sport Unites. We'll combine that with data that we hope that all of the grantees, your organisations included, will be able to collect as well, to show a collective picture of the impact and what the Sport Unites investment has managed to achieve over this first year period. And so the Sport Unites, you will certainly be aware of your own funding stream, but it's actually consists of 4 different overall funding streams, with various grant pots under each funding stream. So we have a Young Londoners Fund, of which there are 4 grant streams under the Young Londoners Fund. We have workforce tech and capacity building strand of Sport Unite, which is all about building the capacity of organisations across London who are involved in providing sport for social integration projects and programmes. There's an Active Londoners strand, and finally there is a Sport for Social Integration strand, which involves lots of different types of projects and programmes, from Model City, which is more of a network approach, to collective impact and supporting a whole group of organisations within a certain boroughs within London to work more cooperatively together, but helping them capacitate and build their own capacity as a network, to projects that are really delivering just frontline programmes to to beneficiaries, whether that's young or older target audiences. But across all of this, there are hundreds of grantees in total. So it's a complex task, and this is one of the reasons why we've been asked to also work with the grantees and yourselves to really help with the effort to gather all of this information about all the great things that are happening across Sport Unite's programme. There's a broad diversity of activities, and we're hoping to really capture the main learnings from all the work that's going on, but also the impact that's being achieved. So that's just to give you a picture of the kind of scope of the evaluation that is underway. And in terms of what we've been asked to do, there's really been three sort of main kind of framing principles or aims of this. The first is to make the most of the opportunity for learning. So we're really looking at creating a good evidence base that will help to guide future investments, future decisions for the Mayor's office as well as other agencies, so that we can really see the results, but also be at the forefront of providing evidence and research for the efficacy and the success of sports-based initiatives in trying to overcome some of those social integration challenges that everybody's targeting. The second is to provide a robust evidence of the programme's achievements and impact, and this is very much from an accountability perspective. To what extent has this investment been successful? And the third is to provide support to grantees, to organisations who are actually delivering the work on the ground, as it's really recognised that M&E and gathering information and data is one task amongst many that you are tasked with and challenged with. But it's an important one from the point of view of us being able to really make transparent what's been achieved through Sport Unite. But we also recognise what comes with that is some challenge, and people can really find M&E as a topic, something that they don't necessarily want to engage with. So we're hoping to change that, and hoping to really give some insight and some support into this area, so that everybody can to varying extents carry out some level of monitoring and evaluation of their projects. So that's really what our role as In Focus and the team at In Focus are here to do, and what we really wanted to focus in on within this webinar was to give you a sort of overview of the different aspects of support that will be open to all of the various grantees across the next at least 12 to 14 month period, and then we'll be re-evaluating how things are going, and we'll look at GLA will be looking at future options for support based on how it's gone in the next 12 to 14 months. So a word from Bruce. We like to incorporate Bruce wherever we can in our presentations. Adopt what is useful, reject what is not, and add what is specifically your own. And that's really the approach that we want you to take to the offers that we've got here. We don't expect everybody to take up every single aspect of offer that we have here, because some of it may be less useful than other bits to you in terms of where you are currently regards your own project and your own capacities internally to do monitoring and evaluation. So really that's a kind of guiding principle is please do feel free to adapt and adopt, out of this what's useful to you. We just wanted to introduce the 7 steps manual. You'll see in your download panel on the for this webinar, you'll see there's various resources, or under the handouts section, We've got a 7 Steps to Measuring Social Change PDF. Now that's a guide that In Focus uses to help support and break down the process of building monitoring and evaluation systems and processes that apply to a project or a program or even a whole organization. So there are 7 steps to measuring social change, and this is going to be one of the guiding principles for how we organize our support. Will be around the 7 steps, and it helps you guide yourself in terms of how you might want to navigate the various different aspects of support, because some steps you may be quite competent in and others you may need more support in. So really the 7 Steps program and training that which is one of the core offers of the support package, is built around the 7 Steps principle. So I encourage you to sort of download that PDF and take a look. And the program itself consists of a web-based, webinar-based, much like you've logged in today to today's introduction. There are 22 different webinars which cover every aspect of monitoring and evaluation across those 7 steps. So each course is related to different aspects of the 7 steps, and these courses are all open to all grantees. So there will be 3 people per organization, per grantee organization, able to register from today onto those courses. And the second PDF that's uploaded into your handout section for this webinar is actually a calendar of all the upcoming courses for the next 3-month period. But we'll go into that in a little bit more detail in a moment. So just to give you an overall overview of the support that's on offer, and then we'll go into each segment individually. And there will be reminders after this and a PDF sent round that captures all of this information for you, with all the sort of login details and how to access things details, so that you can go back to it. But the first kind of batch of area is what we call general M&E training, and that will consist of the universal access to for 3 people from each organization to the 7 Steps online training. That's as I've just described. There will be a series of web-based M&E surgeries. So every month there will be a day allocated to open access surgeries, where if anybody has any questions, now these questions will need to be posed in advance, and we'll talk about that in a moment as well. But they're an opportunity to really get some specific tailored advice on challenges or issues you may be having. And the third aspect is an M&E capacity assessment, which is a tool really to help you identify exactly how you're doing in regard to your own monitoring and evaluation, the strengths and weaknesses within that. The second area relates to data collection support. So we have 2 aspects here. Firstly, we're creating at the moment a toolkit, which will be available next month for general circulation to all grantees. And the toolkit is designed to help you with various tasks across the 7 steps, and really help accelerate the process of you being able to collect information that's relevant and appropriate to your own project. So this toolkit will be explained, and how to use the toolkit, along with some training on actual data collection techniques, like how to run a focus group discussion and how to run interviews. Will be run every alternate month. We'll be doing a full day of training based in a central London location for any grantees and anybody who's tasked with monitoring and evaluation within a project, to join that training to get a good introduction to the toolkit and get a good introduction to how to collect data effectively. The second aspect that relates to kind of data collection support is about Brighton University. So we have a relationship there, and there will be an intern support program, which I'll talk about in a moment. And the third area is around learning, and there'll be various learning opportunities. And there's two main batches or areas. One is F-Word webinars, and the second is F-Word public learning events. And by the way, everybody, as I'm going through this presentation, if you do have questions, there is a question panel in the top right-hand side of your screen. So please feel free to just pop questions in there, and we'll probably have about 5 minutes at the end of this presentation to run through any of those questions. And I can at that time unmute you specifically. Everybody's muted at the moment, of course, just to avoid background noise, but I can pull people in at that stage if you've got specific questions. So that's just an overview of the areas of support, and I'm going to go into each of these in a little bit more detail now so that you can get a sense of what the opportunity is and in a bit more detail. So before I do that, just to introduce the other members of the InFocus team, there are a total of 6 of us who are engaged in providing this support in different capacities. You'll be hearing a lot from Tom and Graham, who will be also supporting many of the training webinars, as will our other colleagues in different capacities be joining both the live and web-based trainings, who are all experts in monitoring and evaluation and many years of experience with specifically within this remit of sport for social change. So there's a whole bunch of capacity here to help you. But let's dive into that first area, which was the general M&E training. So we've talked about the 7 steps training program. So this is the first element. And the picture here is of our training calendar, of which there are links embedded within the calendar. So if you've managed to download that from your handout section, you'll see that there are various links which are hyperlinks to GoToWebinar registration pages. So you'll be able to access those courses. It's all free of charge to everybody involved with Sport Unites. But there is a limit in terms of the attendance from each organisation, and that's capped at 3 named individuals across the 12 months. So if one person from your organisation signs up that for the first webinar, that counts as kind of 1 individual, and but they will then have access for the remainder of the year to the rest of the training. Now this is the calendar that you've got here is just for the first 3 months. It's repeated in cycles, so exactly the same training will be repeated then from February to April, and then again from May to July, and then again from September to November. So we've got 4 cycles of this training, which gives effectively 4 opportunities to attend each course. So it starts in actual fact next week. So September the 17th is on Tuesday is the first introduction to M&E and the InFocus approach. So that'll take you through an overview of the 7 steps, training. That's why I've given you the calendar quite urgently today, so that if you are interested in getting onto this first cycle of training, you don't necessarily need to start next week. Any courses that you do miss, you can come back to in the next cycle of training. But if you want to get going, with this training, please feel free to start registering across the different courses and circulate the information to your other colleagues. So every month we will be sending out the calendar to sign up for these webinars, and all you need is a passcode, which is UNITES19. So this is the key thing to remember. You will be getting a PDF package early next week that sort of contains all this information about how to sign up and how to register. But I just wanted to alert you to the fact that this is live now, and you can access the training from today. You just need a strong internet connection as per you're on today, and a pair of headphones to join the webinar. Now, in January 2020, the webinars will also be supported by a series of e-learning modules that can be completed offline alongside the webinars. So this is a new aspect to the training, which isn't in place for this first cycle from now till December. But it is a complementary to the webinars, so you can still do the webinars. You can then pick up the e-learning in January if that would be preferable. And it consists really of videos, quizzes and assessments, articles, case studies and forums. And the e-learning just allows different pathways to be followed through the e-learning and really to dive into certain topics in a bit more detail. And the e-learning is very much linked to an assessment process for individual learners. And that's linked really to a certification scheme. So as you progress through the training, as you complete the various assessments, you will be eligible to receive a level 1 to level 4 certification around monitoring and evaluation. These aren't accredited, but they are in the process of being accredited, and they will give you a strong basis and strong foundation, whatever organization you're working in, for carrying out M&E in future. So just to recap, when it's available is from January, and that'll be open to the 3 members of staff, so the same 3 individuals who have access to the webinar, whoever those are. And to access, well, you'll be sent links to the course in January. And just to mention the monthly Sport Unites e-bulletin, we will be sending round an email just to ask people to register for our e-bulletin. And this will be a dedicated Sport Unites e-bulletin that really contains all of the information about the upcoming month's opportunities to engage with this training support package. So all of this, you're going to get plenty of reminders about, basically, as we go through. But if you can subscribe to that e-bulletin, that'll get the information going straight into your inbox. The third aspect that we were mentioning was M&E capacity assessment and report. So this will be introduced during the training. There is a capacity assessment tool that allows you to, it's basically a questionnaire-based assessment which you complete, and you'll receive a report concerning the particular project or organization that you've had in mind when you've been going through the assessment. So it's to assess the current standards of monitoring and evaluation for that particular project, program or organization that you're focusing on. And it allows you to really see where you're strong or weak, and where to address, pay more attention to in terms of supporting the quality of the monitoring and evaluation that you're undertaking. So that assessment will be done from later this month. The tool will be circulated to everybody, and a link will be sent so that you can complete the assessment, and you'll be sent a report a bit like the one that's on the screen right now. And we'll also be collating the reports anonymously across all the projects to see what's the overall areas of challenge that people are experiencing within monitoring and evaluation. So the actual process for signing up to the training is just outlined on this slide. First of all, you've got your calendar. It will be sent out again each month. If you have clicked already on one of those links in the calendar, you'll see that they take you to a GoToWebinar page where you can register for that particular webinar by just putting in your name, email, job title and organization, and the passcode, which remember is Unites 19. The administrator will check the details our end, and you'll be sent within 24 hours the access details. So that's basically how it works. Each webinar will then be for around about 1 hour in length and half an hour of practical exercises. So really, we split the training up into an hour and a half in total, with some room for Q&A at the end. And you may be interested in just the presentation aspect, or you may be interested in the practical exercises as well. So people often drop in and drop off according to what level of detail they want to really dive into. If somebody is really tasked with putting in place monitoring and evaluation for a project, then the practical exercises are particularly important to participate in. The M&E surgeries. So I mentioned these. There will be 30-minute surgeries that take place with a core member of the InFocus team, and you'll be able to really ask about topics that are challenging you, and if there's any particular gaps in your knowledge, you can request a surgery, and these will be scheduled on a single day each month, and so there'll be some back-to-back topics across that whole day that people might want to also log into. So you may, the format of these tends to be, it's a kind of peer learning format. So somebody has a particular challenge, which we'll be talking through, and they will be the example, but other people will be able to join in and listen, because often people experience very similar challenges, and having a real life example to work through, if you like, is a great way of figuring out the solution to your own needs. So that's the format of how these run, and you will again be sent a link to be able to either be the lead agency in the surgery for that 30 minutes, and we'll work through that topic with you. So those start in October. 30-minute slots can be booked. There'll be a minimum of a few days before the actual a cutoff point for accessing the surgeries. For registering to ask a question to be covered in a surgery. And that will be done via an online booking tool. Again, simple link that you follow and make a selection of one of the slots that's available. Those topics that are going to be covered will then be promoted within the monthly bulletin. So if you're interested in some of the other topics to log into, you'll have the opportunity to just click in and join those meetings. So that's the support in terms of the main kind of general monitoring and evaluation aspects. But in terms of data collection for this particular evaluation, there are 2 or 3 aspects that we wanted to just mention. So we are developing at the moment what we call a common measurement framework. This is just a set of tools and processes that allow multiple organizations who are working in a similar sort of field to use in a common way, so that we can, to a certain extent, add the results together and see what the kind of collective and overall impact of work that's taking place. So we're developing what's called a common measurement framework as a part of the process of monitoring and evaluating. And what we mean by that is often what's included in a common measurement framework is something called a theory of change, which is just a tool or a technique that allows us to really map out how we see, in a common way, change happening from the point of view of delivering sports-based programs or delivering a particular capacity and development training aspect, and how that will actually lead to a result of some sort. So that becomes a framework upon which we can then decide and develop a set of indicators. And again, these are common indicators of the results that are being achieved. And an indicator is simply just a bite-sized bit of information that tells us whether something's happened or not. But identifying the right indicators is a technical task to be done, and we're helping shortcut that process for everybody by having a bank of these available that you can draw from, that are tried and tested and useful indicators for your purposes. The third aspect is some data collection tools. So how do you actually collect information about that indicator? So we'll be within this common measurement framework will be a whole bunch of tools to be able to be used and adapted to your own context. And then finally, as a part of this is a way of recording and reporting the data. So there'll be a set of usually Excel forms to be able to input the information simply. And really that's all structured. Our common measurement framework is always structured around our 7 steps again. So different tools help accelerate the process across one or more of the 7 steps, which are outlined there on the right-hand side. You'll become more familiar with those steps as we go through the training. And really, this common measurement framework for you is expressed as really a toolkit. It'll be a PDF document that contains links to all of the various different elements across the 7 steps that are going to be helpful to you. So that's what a common measurement framework is. And we have one-day live training workshops that will be running on alternate months in London from October onwards, all the way from October to September of next year. And the workshop will provide an introduction to all of the tools within the toolkit so that you'll know exactly what the purpose of each of those tools is. And it contains a set of, as I've mentioned, quality indicators and data collection instruments. So that's usually surveys or focus group discussion guides that you can use and apply within your projects. And we'll really focus upon how to use these tools effectively, and also how you can actually train your own staff or volunteers to collect high quality data. One of the big flaws often in collecting information is the people tasked with collecting the information really don't know how to avoid things like biasing answers that are being received from recipients, from respondents. And we want to really give you an opportunity to learn some best practice techniques in terms of how to run a good and effective focus group, how to deploy a questionnaire, and how to interview people to collect good quality data, but also give you tools to train other people to do that. So this will be happening every month from October. And again, you'll be sent sign-up links within the Sport Unites e-bulletin to access that information. The second aspect of collection support is with Brighton University. So we have an established partnership with Brighton, and our main point of contact is Tom Carter, who's an InFocus associate, and also the principal lecturer on the MA in Sport and International Development degree in Brighton. He's also the director for Football for Peace International, and this is a sport for development program that's run by the University of Brighton, and many of the students actually do placements and internships within Football for Peace, and it gives them great context for an understanding of the sport for development environment. And what the intern scheme is basically we will have a minimum of 2 students who who are on the MA Sport and International Development degree, who have been trained in quantitative and qualitative data collection and social research methods. So these are well-trained individuals in terms of collecting data, and then we're providing approximately 60 days of support as a minimum across a number of different projects, and the idea of this support is to provide an additional layer of capacity, particularly for organizations that are struggling to collect data. So it is a data collection assistance scheme, and it will be supported by Dr. Tom Carter and managed by the InFocus team. All data collected by the interns will be then analysed alongside other bits of data that are provided by grantees and by our own data collection team. So we just wanted to outline this to you as an opportunity as well to get involved. If you do feel it's something that you're potentially going to struggle with to be able to collect information effectively, well, the students are going through a period of training between now and January, but they will be starting to collect available for data collection from January onwards. To get some of this support, we'll be asking you, if you're interested, to complete a very short, and we're talking super short, application form, just a page, just to say what it is you'd like some help and support with, and whether it's and we'll then go through a process of matching to relevant grantees. Now, this is a finite amount of time that's available, but so it will be on a kind of first come first serve basis. The final aspect of data collection we just wanted to mention was the grantee case studies. So this is data that we'll be collecting, and we'll be hopefully working with different grantees. I think it's about 16 across the whole next 12 months, where we'll do a bit of a deeper dive look at how the project is working, what are some of the results you're achieving for beneficiaries. And the aim is to ensure that these case studies are as useful for you, the grantee, as they are for GLA. So we really want to engage you in this as an opportunity actually to get a great case study for your own organisation. And it obviously timings for data collection will be quite different for different projects and different grantees and different portfolios, but we're intending on starting collecting data ourselves as the InFocus team from next month. And so we'll be circulating some requests to everybody if they are interested in being part of a grantee case study, or being the focus, should I say, of a grantee case study. And we'll be putting that request out towards the end of this month to see whether people would like to get some specific support from the InFocus the InFocus M&E team. So that's the final aspect in regards to data collection. So the third area and batch of support, and the final area of batch of support for me to mention, is the learning activities. So we've done a whole lot of training there. We've done a whole lot of data collection, hopefully. The real payoff here is learning. What are we getting out of this information, and what is it telling us? And so we've devised two aspects really of or two engagement points with learning. The first is what we're calling learning webinars. So we have a history of running learning communities and communities of practice within InFocus over the last 5 years. And we've created a format for this learning, which really revolves around the topics being very much led by participants. And so the learning webinars are designed to really explore a topic that's of particular interest to a group of grantees. Now that topic will by definition not be of interest to everybody, but we hope it's going to be sufficiently interesting to attract a good group of different grantees to join those webinars. They'll last for about 2 hours, and we'll be doing work in the run up to the webinar to really dig into the particular topic and feed in any learning that we're getting from the evaluation around that topic. So it could be about, how to engage and retain hard to reach individuals in sport for development programs. What's the best practices that are going on within and across the portfolio, and we'll both pull in data from the evaluation, but also we'll take research from other sources to bring into that webinar, and there'll be a learning resource that's generated off the back of that everybody can take away. But it'll an opportunity of interactive exercises. So that's the real thing to point out with these webinars. They're going to be very interactive and involve you in live exercises as well as Q&As. So that's the first point of learning, and those will be taking place on alternate months starting from October again. The other aspect is some events, and now these are live events called the F Word. Now the F Word is, if you like, it's almost a brand that's been developed by a partner of ours, the Football Foundation, in collaboration with Upshot, which is their monitoring and evaluation team within the foundation. And they hosted the first F Word event, Learning Through Failure, so F being for failure. And these are all about being open and transparent about what's not working as well as what is working, and really trying to change and shift that culture of being open to both analysing what's not worked and reporting what's not worked as really just a stepping stone on a pathway to future success, which is, what failure really is. Nobody who's really ever achieved anything of significance hasn't gone through a phase of failure, but we are particularly for good reasons often not too open about exploring failure. So those events will take place in December and September. There'll be live events that take place, and that really captures all of the learning activities. So the webinars will be from November onwards, and again, links will be sent in the monthly e-bulletin. So this is my final slide now, just to give you a sense of the time frame for each of these areas. So in terms of the general M&E support, it's really kicking off this month and continuing all the way through to next September. In terms of data collection, again, trainings will be starting from next month and will be running through all the way till August, September next year. The intern scheme will be from January, and we're hoping really to start getting going with our own data collection in terms of beneficiary data collection. So that's really looking at how some of the beneficiaries within your programs are getting on, as well as working with wider stakeholders to collect information. And we've got 3 reports that we'll produce over this period. And then we've got our learning activities, as I've just been through. So that's a real whirlwind through all of the activities. We don't expect you to engage with everything. We'd love you to engage with something. And but if you do get into it, there is a lot here for you to access and take advantage of. So that's really just a run through of all of the various activities. And in the last minute or two, because I realize we're now at 15:15, I'm just going to have a quick scan through any of the questions that have been posted during the course of the webinar. If anybody's got any questions that they'd like to ask of me, please just use your hand to put up. There's a hand that you can virtually raise and I can pull you in. So I'm just going to have a quick scan through the questions and see if I can answer any of them. Will there be another opportunity for colleagues to take this webinar before signing up as one of our 3 officers? Yes, there will. So these webinars will be introduced every month. There'll be one of these introductory webinars just to remind everybody and introduce you to the full range of services. So we do a lot of work in schools. We're very caged about data protection as well as parents. Has this been taken into consideration? So that's a great question. And one of the training courses will very much focus in on data protection as a topic and a subject for one of those 2-hour webinars. It's a vital topic, and it's important, as with many of the other topics, actually, to keep people safe and keep data safe. So that will be covered for sure. Does the toolkit include pro formas for registration forms and questionnaires? So yes, there will be some templates, questionnaires and forms, and analysis templates as well that you can use within that toolkit and download. So thank you for all those questions. If anybody has any more questions, please, I'll be on the line for another 10 or 15 minutes if necessary. Please do just stay on the line. But for everybody else, thank you very much for your attention. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. And of course, if you've got any further questions, just drop me an email and we can hopefully clear those up. Okay, thank you very much, and have a great rest of your afternoon and a wonderful weekend. Thank you.